Hi all, in this video we're going to be looking at the Technical Graphics Ordinary Level 2018 question 2. That is the Ellipse question, and this year it was the Art Shop logo. So let's get started. So in this question again, it's the ellipse question, so we're asked to draw an ellipse and that's where we're going to start. If we look here at the question, we are told that the curve ABCD is an ellipse with AC the major axis and of the ellipse and is at 150 millimeters long. And if we look closely to the drawing itself, we can see that there's a measurement down the bottom left of 75 millimeters, and that is half the major axis from A to O. So we know that, and we're also told that OD is half the minor axis and has a length of 50, and again from our drawing we can see that the half the minor axis is indeed 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the major and minor axis. So I'm going to look at the major axis first and then we'll go into the minor. Okay, so we set up a cross in the middle of our page. This is kind of just where we would start, and the first thing we're going to do is mark off the major axis. So it's 75, okay, both sides. So I'm going to mark off 75 and 75, and again on our question I'm going to just mark that off in a bit of color for us to see. Okay, so that there is the major axis, and we will label that just over here. Okay, just so that there's no confusion. So that's the major axis, okay, and that is AC. Okay, next thing we're going to look at is the minor axis. We were told half the minor was 50, so if half of it is 50, the whole lot has to be 100. So I'm going to mark off that, so there's 50 to the top and 50 to the bottom. Okay, again, just for clarity, we're going to use our pens to mark off the minor axis, and again just up here we're going to write down minor axis, just so again there's no confusion. So once we've that done, we've all the information we need now to draw our ellipse. In this video and with most of our work, we are going to be doing and looking at the Trammel method. This is probably the easiest and most accurate way of drawing the ellipse, and probably the least confusion. So we're going to look at that now. So first thing we're going to need is the Trammel itself, so we're just going to get a piece of paper, and the first thing we're going to do is we always put it against the major axis. So just put the piece of paper against the major axis, and we're going to mark off the end of that. So I'm going to mark that off just here. So I'm going to call that point P, okay, and that's going to be, we'll write it down here, the point on the ellipse, so there's no confusion. So point P is the point on the ellipse. What we do then is we mark off the axis that intersects. So you can see here, this is the minor axis, so we're going to mark that. So I always just have them in color and I continue my red line on here, so it's like it's intersected, and we write down minor axis. Don't write down letters or numbers or anything like that. Write down exactly what it is. Okay, it's the easiest way not to be confused. When you've that done, we're going to take our Trammel and we're going to put it now against the minor axis. Okay, so put point P at the very top. Don't worry about this one we've just marked, and again we look at what's intersecting the Trammel. Well, we can see it's the major axis just here, so I mark that off and we write down major. Okay, so that is always the major axis. So this here then is our Trammel. So this piece of paper is really important to us. We've point P here at the end, that's the point on the ellipse. We've the major axis, which is in blue, and the minor axis here, which is in red, and it's going to match up to all of these. So we now need to go ahead and draw in the full ellipse, okay? Even though we may not need some of it down here, we're as well just to pop it all in. So the next thing we need to do is find the different points. If we want to draw, the only thing we have to remember is if we want to draw this top left corner, then we're going to put the Trammel in the corner opposite across the major axis. So if we're drawing in this corner, then across the major axis, if we jump across, this is the quadrant opposite it. Okay, so I'm going to put my Trammel against or across that axis. So we'll start up here at the top, and what I need to do is just keep the axis points on their axis. So major is going to go on the major, minors on the minor. And again, if we have colour on that, it does make things easier. Point P then is exactly as it says, it's the point on the ellipse. So I'm just turning this around. Major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. We said in the past we're going to need about 6 or 7 points per quadrant just to make sure it's nice, neat, accurate. Okay, so you can see here, just slowly moving it all the way around. Major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. Okay, and again, if we bring that all the way around, we can't go too far wrong. If we feel that our ellipse is quite messy, put in a few more points. The more points, the more accurate it's going to be. So I've the top done, I'm going to go and do this one. So again, if I want to draw this one, I go to the quadrant opposite across the major axis, and that's where I'm going to position my trammel across. Okay, so it's going to cross that bottom one. Keep minor on minor, major on major, point P is a point in the curve. And I'm just doing that same rule all the way along. Again, another about 6 or 7 points in this. Major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. Okay, and if we keep rotating those all the way around, we can't go too far wrong. Okay, so major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. Once you've that done, we're going to do the exact same the whole way around. Okay, and then we'll be able to draw in our ellipse. So just to start, I'm going to draw on the top of this ellipse, and all we're doing is doing a big game of join the dots. So we're going to try and nice and steadily go from one point to the next in a nice, neat curve. Again, if we find that our curves aren't as neat as we'd like, just put in an extra point or two. Okay, you'll have more time than me to make this super neat. I'm just going to rush it so it gets all done here. Okay, so that's the top done, which we can see is a full ellipse. We have a full ellipse down here in this bottom corner as well, so I'm going to draw that next. I want to draw this quadrant, so I'm going opposite over the major axis, so I'm putting the trammel across this quadrant here. Okay, major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point on the curve. So I'm just working my way around that information. Okay, so sliding the trammel along here. And again, the more points you have, the more accurate it's going to be. If we went to a stage where we said, oh, I'd like another point in here, that's no problem. You can just go back, major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. Okay, and it helps you add in extra points. I need this whole quadrant, so I'm going to draw that in heavy again. Okay, so again, try nice and neatly all the way along, one point to the next, and in there nice and neatly to each of the ends of the major minor axis. You can see here at the end of the major axis and the end of the minor, we have a nice sweeping curve all the way around. We do not want to be coming into a point or anything there like that. Now, you can see here on this bottom corner, we don't need the ellipse. This is where there's going to be circles drawn, okay, for maybe where your hand might go to hold this easel. Once we've that done, then that is our ellipse drawn. The last thing I'm going to just do is I'm going to stick down my trammel. We always say that we put the trammel on the sheet when we're handing up our questions, okay, just in case anyone's wondering how did we draw the ellipse. There's no circles or anything else there. Okay, so just to make sure that indeed we use the trammel method. So that there is the ellipse drawn for this question. Our next job is to look at the circle details. So the circles we're going to start with are the circles down here, okay, in this bottom right hand corner. Now again, if we look at the question, the two main circles that are attached to the sides of this easel here, we can see are radius 20. So both of those are radius 20. So they're the first ones we're going to put in. So we know that we have a circle coming out here and we have another circle here, and they're both radius 20. This one down here starts on point D that we have down here, the bottom of the minor axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up 20. Okay, and that there is going to be the center of this circle here. Okay, next circle we have to put in is our radius 20, and that is touching point C. So again, just like the last one, I'm going to measure out 20, and again that there is going to be the center of my other circle. When we've that done, we're going to draw in those two circles. We're going to draw these in lightly. We're not sure where they're going to start and stop. So I'm going to put the point of my compass at the center, open it up to the radius 20. Okay, a nice, neatly light circle. I'm going to draw that all the way around. We don't know exactly where it's going to stop just yet, nor do we with this circle up here. So point the compass on the center I just marked out, which was radius 20, and I'm going to swing that circle all the way around there. Okay, once we've that done, okay, the only other circle we need is this circle that goes in here. And if we look closely at the question here, we can see that that is a radius 20. But what we don't have and what we're not given is where the positioning of the center of this radius 20 is. So we know it's a radius 12. We know it's a radius 12 in here, but we don't have where the center is. Now, if we look, we've got one circle here and another circle here, and there's a circle going to be touching right in here in the center. And what we call that then is those circles are all touching externally, okay? They touch to the outside, okay? And when the circles touch externally, they touch on the outside, we have a rule, okay? So from our circles questions, and we'll just write it down here, maybe towards the bottom right. So, if circles touch on the outside, what do we do? Okay, you add, put it in brackets, add the radius. Okay, so whatever the radius is, okay, so whatever the r is, we're going to add those. So we know that this radius is radius 20, as is this. And the circle in the middle, we've got a radius 20, and the next one is radius 12. So you have to add those. So in this question, let's put it over here. What does that mean? We have a radius 20 plus a radius 12, and that's going to give you a radius 32. So that is the size of the circles we need to draw from here to find the center of this radius 12. So I'm going to take my compass, I'm going to put it down on my set square here, and I'm going to open it up to radius 32. Okay, so just like we have here, I'm going to put it at the center of one of the circles I have, and I'm going to swing an arc. I'm going to do the exact same on this side, and I'm going to swing an arc. Okay, where those two arcs intersect is giving me the center of this circle. Okay, and to show the points of contact, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the centers back. Okay, so I'm going to put the point here and it's drawn back to the centers. You join the centers of the circles. Okay, so there's one and there's the other, and that gives us what we called in the past in our circles questions the POC. Okay, the point of contact. Okay, once you've got that, where the arcs intersect gives you the center of this next circle. Okay, so we have that, so we're going to mark that, and again we've already got the radius because we can see it's open up to 20, so to put the point of the compass down at the center, open up to the point of contact, and that will allow us to swing that arc all the way around to the point of contact on the opposite side, and you can go ahead and draw that in heavy. When you've that done, we have to go back and draw these arcs here in heavy, so we're going to put the point of the compass back on the center of the radius 20, open up to the point of contact, and again now we can go ahead and draw in this arc in heavy all the way around here. Okay, and we're going to do the exact same on the bottom. Point of the compass on the center, open up to the point of contact, and we can draw that in heavy all the way down to D. Okay, so that there is then the circles in contact touching at the bottom with the points of contact found. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw in maybe where your thumb would go if we were holding this, so we're going to put in our radius 12 here. So again, we should have our compass open to radius 12, so we put our set square down, open up to radius 12, and again that is from the center here, and we just draw in a circle there. Okay, so we're not going to draw it in fully heavy. We probably shouldn't have drawn in this circle fully and heavy just down here because we've got this paintbrush coming up here. So we might just leave that for a minute. The paintbrush we can look at next, okay, in our question. So when we look at that, we can see it's starting from a point right down here, okay? And if we looked closely, that is a big circle, okay? It's a major circle that's coming all the way around here, touching the major axis. So what I'm going to do is put the points of my compass right in the center of where my major and minor axis intersect, open it up to the major axis, and I'm going to draw in a major circle. Okay, so you can see that all the way around there. Okay, when you've that done, that gives us this point right down here at the bottom. So that point at the bottom is giving us where we're going to draw this paintbrush coming up here. Okay, and again, if we look closely, it's coming through right through the center of this circle radius 12. So I can draw that line straight out here. Okay, so it's giving me one edge of the paintbrush. The next thing that we can do is we can see that the second line comes through the top of this radius 12 circle. So again, I can draw a light line through the top of that, and it's coming all the way out here. Now, where does it end? Where does it stop? Well, if we look closely, there's an arc at the very top. If we look at the question of radius 95, okay? Where is that coming from? That's coming from the opposite side, the top of the major circle. Okay, so we can see at the top of the major circle, and we've got a radius 95 coming down here. So I'm going to use my compass, open it up to radius 95, so it's a big radius. Okay, put the points of the compass up to the very top, and I'm swinging an arc up here. Okay, that arc is intersecting, and it's giving me the top of this paintbrush. Again, we can see from the question where the radius 95 intersects the outside line, that is drawn back to the top of the major circle also. That's giving me this edge here. When you've that done, you've got everything that you need to draw in the paintbrush. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that. So I have the outside line which goes through the center of the radius 12. Where is it stopping? It stops where my radius 95 hits the outside circle. So again, I can draw that. That's a heavy line all the way along there. I have this outside edge. Where does that stop? Where the radius 95 hits the outside line. How do we draw the outside line? From the bottom of the major circle right through the top of the radius 12. Okay, so all the way up here. Now, we have a break line in the middle. How do we get that? Well, we join that back from where the 95 hits the outside line, goes back to the top of the major circle. So we have a small line just there. And once you've that done, we can go ahead then and draw in the top of the paintbrush, okay, which again is at radius 95. And we can have a heavy circle from one edge all the way down to the other line, okay? So at this stage then, we've got most of the question done. We've got the paint tray itself and with the paintbrush. Our last part we need to do is look at where the circles for the paint themselves are. So to do the circles of the paint itself, we can see that it's split up into 30-degree angles. So we can see that there on the question, okay? We've got all those 30-degree lines. So that's the first thing we're going to put in. We're going to mark off these 30-degree lines, and they're all from the center, okay? Right here where the major and minor axes intersect. So I'm going to use my 30-60-degree set square, and I'm drawing these all the way out here, okay? And last one just here, okay? So that's the first bit of information we were told. The next bit of information, if we look at the question, is that the center of the first one, we go up 40 on our minor axis, okay? And if we look really closely, we can see these arrows, okay? These curved arrows pointing along. They're telling us where the center is of the next circle. So for this one, we're told, we know it's on this line here, okay? This angle line. Center is on this angle line, but we're told to measure up 40 on the minor axis. So I measure up 40, okay? And what I'm asked to do, not draw a circle here, but what I'm actually asked to do is use that distance to rotate it down. So I'm opening up to 40 and I'm swinging that down here. That's what those arc arrows are giving you. And when you do that, that gives you the center then of this circle right here, okay, on this point. Again, if we look closely, we are given their size, it's radius 10, and we can also see it in the note down the bottom. All 5 color pot circles are radius 10. So all we need to do is open up the compass to radius 10, okay, put the points of the compass down on the center we just found, which is on the angle line, and we can draw in that circle radius 10 in heavy just up here. Okay, so that is the first color pot there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more to get. So how are we going to get the next one? Well, we can see there's up to the next one, it's on this line here, and there's an arrow, and it's coming down from the top here of this circle. So we're always drawing all these arcs, they come in from the center here. We open it up to the top of this circle here, and we swing that down. Okay, so all of these are giving us new centers. Where that arc hits my 30-degree line is giving me the next center. So all I have to do is draw my center lines, and again draw in my radius 10. So I'm going to do it one at a time. Some of you might like to find all the centers and then do all the radius 10s. It's totally up to yourself, but just for probably a bit of clarity here, I'm going to do them as we go. Okay, so that's the next one. Where do we draw the next one? Again, if we see from our question, the points the compass is at the center as always. We're opening up again to the outside. So all the 3 top ones, the center of the next one is found by going on the outside. Okay, so the top, just like that. So the top, and that's giving me the center just here, which is on the major axis. Okay, and again we're going to draw on that. So I'm going to mark off radius 10 here. Okay, so pop it down here, and we're drawing that in radius 10 just there. Okay, next job to do is to do the bottom 2. So again, if we look closely at the question, we can see that the curves now from the bottom are coming from the inside of the circle. So we're going to be coming down here from the inside of the circle to find the center of the next ones. So again, we're going to put the points of the compass on the center here, open it up to the inside of this circle, and swinging our arc down. Where that arc hits our 30-degree line is going to give us the center. So we're going to draw our center line just like so. Okay, and that's going to give us the center. We're going to open up our compass to radius 10. Okay, and we're going to pop that down in the center, and I'll be able to draw in my next color pot here of radius 10. Okay, once I've that done, my next job then is to do the last one. So points that comes down in the center where the major and minor axis meet, open it up to the inside of this radius 10 and swing the arc down. Okay, where it hits the 30-degree line, that gives me my next center. So I'm going to draw that in my center lines lightly here. Okay, I'm going to put my point of my compass down on that center, and I'm going to, before we do that, we need to open up to radius 10, excuse me. So open up to radius 10, pop it down in the center, and swing my radius 10 all the way around. Okay. Once we've that done, we have our question pretty much complete. Our last job to do is just to go back over this radius 12 and draw that in heavy. So I'm going to put my point of my compass down on the center, open it up again, and I'm going to draw it heavy all the way around the top. Okay. Just to the top, I'm not going to go in between where the paintbrush is, and I'm not going to do the bottom. Okay, and once I've that done, then we can see we're left with the light edge in between where the paintbrush is. When you've that done, folks, that is the question fully complete. That is the Technical Graphics Ordinary Level 2018 question 2, the Ellipse question of the Art Shop logo. Hopefully this video helps you with your homework and your revision of this topic. Good luck.